ESPN welcomes you back to the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway. Next up, the FirstPlus Financial 200 Arca race. Well, the bright Florida sunshine is beaming down on thousands of race fans who have gathered here for the continuance of Speed Weeks 99. Next up, 41 Arca cars and drivers getting set to go for 200 miles. Hi, everyone. I'm Bob Jenkins. Welcome back to our continuing coverage. We've been here for more than a week. It was just about a week ago at this time that the Rob Dyson team rolled into victory lane behind me and won the Rolex 24. As a matter of fact, they won it for the second time in their career. And then on Wednesday, the track reopened for stock car portion of Speed Weeks, and Jeff Gordon won the pole for the 500 yesterday. Mike Skinner won the shootout earlier, challenged Mark Martin and the others, but Martin won the Bud shootout just a few moments ago and picked up the trophy in victory lane. Now we get set for some Arca competition. And as we remember back, the big, as we remember back, our top gun on the broadcast team got a real big break in his racing career back in the late 60s, right behind me at Victory Lane here at Daytona.
In 1969, I came to Daytona as a defending Arca champion, but with never a victory in Daytona. I knew I needed that on my resume if I was going to go on and get that good ride in NASCAR racing. And folks, dreams do come true. In this very car in 1969, I won the FirstPlus Financial 200, went on to get me a NASCAR Winston Cup ride, and become one of the top guns in auto racing. You know, today we've seen one shootout. We're going to see another. They've got their guns loaded, and they're going to come out a-blazing.
They have experienced the pain and pleasure of racing. They have paid the price to earn the privilege of being called a winner. Now, in their biggest race on their biggest day, they're hoping their biggest benefit is knowing how and knowing when to make the move that takes them to victory lane. For guys like Mark Gibson, Bob Shack, and Andy Hillenberg, this is nothing new. Charging around Daytona, high speeds, tight packs, dodging traffic, winning races. Heck, some of these guys could probably do this with their eyes closed. Of course, if something goes wrong in front of them, they will be doing it with their eyes closed. Now, there's no argument that youth will show its power here today. But experience and poise under pressure could be the keys that give these top guns their best shot at a trip to victory lane.
A group of young guns has assembled at the Big D to shoot for the stars. They might only have cap pistol experience, but they become shotguns from pure desire. Quality equipment provides plenty of ammunition. The weapons are loaded. The sights are calibrated. The question is, can they hit the target of Daytona's victory lane? Boy, there's some drivers that are nervous back here in row number 4 and row number 3. Take, for example, this guy, Shane Yoder, a dirt track ace from Ohio. He could win today. He's driving for Mark Thompson. And how about this car? Shauna Robinson driving for James Finch. James Finch has won this race as a car owner 3 times in his career. Shauna could do it today. There's another guy in this field that was awfully strong, and that's Josh Baltus, right here in the number 18 car. He could have won, but he crashed in happy hour, and now he's in a backup car. But the one guy that's a young gun and he's a top gun, all wrapped up in one, is on the pole today, and that's Matt Hutter. Not just because he's got a new sponsor in Duraloop, not just because he's on the pole, but because last October he finished second to Tim Steele in the Arca Bondo Mar-Hyde Series, and I think what he learned that day may help him win the first big stock car race of 1999.
In last November's Arca finale in Atlanta, 2 second-generation drivers put on an impressive performance as they battled to the wire for the win. Today, the learning curve gets steeper for these fresh faces with familiar names as Bobby Hamilton Jr. and Mike Swain Jr. continue to follow in the footsteps of their famous fathers. Ironically, this marks the 20th anniversary of the day here in Daytona that another famous son began to shine. Hello, everyone. I'm Jerry Punch along with Kyle Petty. Glad you could join us. And Kyle, I remember that day because I was in Victory Lane in 1979 waiting on you. What a special day.
It was a special day. Do I remember it? No, I was 18. I had a blast out there. But I do remember that we came down here in January, tested. I ran pretty good. Daddy said, let's go back and race. I got to go back and race. I won the Arca race. He won the 500. My grandfather won the golf tournament over here. It was a big week for the Petties down here.
Now, you mentioned you were 18 years old. How savvy were you that day as to what was about to happen on the racetrack?
Savvy's not even a word that was in my vocabulary. At 18 years old, let me just tell you that, I didn't have a clue. They turned me loose on a racetrack where you could go out here and run 180, 190 miles an hour, had brand new Goodyear Eagles. They had just repaved the racetrack. It stuck everywhere. I passed on the apron. I passed on the high side. God was looking after me that day. I was very, very blessed. And I've gone on to have a fairly successful career since then, so this was a good springboard for me.
Indeed, you've done well. You met the challenge that day, and some young drivers are waiting to meet the challenge today. Right now, let's go down to the grid where Washington Redskins quarterback Gus Frerotte will give the command.
To give the command to start engine, please welcome the Grand Marshal of the FirstPlus Financial 200. From the Washington Redskins, quarterback Gus Frerotte.
Shauna and gentlemen, start your engines. ESPN Speed World welcomes you back to our continuing live coverage from right here at the World Center of Racing, Daytona International Speedway. Today, it's the 36th running of the FirstPlus Financial 200. When we come back, we'll take a look at the starting lineup and wave the green flag on stop number 1 of a $3 million 20-race tour. Back in just a moment.
Head and shoulders.
ESPN Speed World coverage of the FirstPlus Financial Arca 200 from Daytona, being brought to you by the more than 2,500 AutoZone stores across America. AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts. The field has just moved away from pit road. They're now going down the backstretch, getting warmed up for their 200 miles of competition. That is 80 laps. They're going for a purse that exceeds $250,000. The qualifying record over 200 miles an hour without restriction. The race record is 153.224. Now, let's go upstairs and get the call of the race from Kyle Petty, Benny Parsons, and our anchor, Dr. Jerry Punch.
Thank you very much, Bob. 41 cars on the racetrack to begin a 1999 season for the Arca cars. And let's take a look at our starting lineup. 27-year-old Matt Hunter makes his first ever Arca start here from the pole. Back in row 2, 19-time Arca winner Bob Shack, a veteran up front. Watch for him to make a move early on. And back in row 3, take a look at Shauna Robinson, 34-year-old mother of 2. Her first Arca start in the Bob Evans Restaurant Chevrolet. And beside her, Josh Baltus, who was the fastest car in practice, going to a backup car after he wrecked the car early yesterday morning. He will start shotgun on the field. There's two-time Arca winner here at Daytona, Andy Hillenberg, the 1995 Series champion, alongside the rookie, Sean Yoder.
MC Glenn Morgan, Dan Pardis, local boy, Daytona Beach resident, Dan Pardis.
And as we take a look at the rest of the starting lineup, Kyle, there are the youngsters we were talking about, a couple of second-generation drivers who probably, like you, don't have any idea what really they're going to face today.
I tell you what, the one thing they do have is they have their fathers who they've been able to learn from over the last year, over the last 2 years. I know Bobby Hamilton Jr. has tested at Talladega. Mike Swain's run at Talladega. They've run some other racetracks. They've won at other racetracks. They're good race car drivers. They're using this as a springboard. A couple of those guys, Bobby Jr. is going to run the Busch Series this year. He's got a Busch ride, so they're using this as a springboard to get a leg up on this week.
And Mike Swain Jr., probably not as well known as Bobby Hamilton, Mike Swain Sr., but he is a spotter for Ward Burton and has been ever since Ward Burton has been in NASCAR Winston Cup racing, so he has seen hundreds of these Winston Cup races. He certainly knows how to tell the young men how to get around the racetrack.
We just saw Bill Barrett a moment ago. He was last year's pole sitter and, of course, won the Rookie of the Year award in Arca in 1998. He destroyed a car in practice here on Thursday. He had to go to a backup car, and thus he starts back in the pack. We'll watch for him to make a move early on. And there is Frank Kimmel inside of row 19, the 1998 Arca Series national champion. Boy, what a scary afternoon he had in qualifying here on Thursday. Slapped the wall, was unconscious, taken to Halifax Medical Center. A lot of concern. He is okay physically, had a concussion, but the word has been he may only run a few laps.